Rasa. Namamishwaram Sachitanandarupam Rasatundrango Kubrajanana. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, so why we are performing certain sadhana and certain devotional activities so that we become trained. So that's something we will be doing in the spiritual world. So it's not like, and that one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, what is the goal of chanting? And then Prabhupada replied, more chanting. It's not that the process is one thing and the goal is something else. No, it's sadhya and sadhana, they're both one and the same. So it's no different. So also when we're performing devotional service, it is in line with our constitutional nature. That means this is something we'll be doing in the spiritual world. That's why we're performing bhakti. That's why we're doing some activities that are pleasing to Krishna. Now, so that we can protect ourselves and those activities become even more pleasing to Krishna, hopefully in the spiritual world. But we have to qualify, we have to be trained. So that's an important point. Yeah. Anything else? What was that? Yeah.
You mentioned that the training process also is going on in the spiritual world. The gopis are...
Okay, so nothing ever ends. There's no conception of I reach something and then that's it. I reached the goal and I'm done with it. Then I can mind my own business. What does that mean? There's nothing as such. There's no end to spiritual anything practically. It's ever increasing, it's ever growing, it's ever blissful. It's not like in Christianity they have a concept that, anyway, once they asked one Archbishop of Kettenberg, okay, when you go to heaven, then what will you do? So he said, first 100 years I will, glorify the Lord, And then after that I will, enjoy myself. There's nothing like this. You're always serving Krishna, you're always enjoying with Krishna. There's nothing first we do something that we don't like to do or we have to do or whatever, and then later we'll just have fun on our own. No, it's nothing like this. It's always in relationship to Krishna, and it's always ever increasing. What were the other points you said earlier?
Like if one should not do devotional service for selfish motives.
Okay, yeah, bhakti nothing should ever be done for a selfish motive. The more selfish one is, the more one will suffer. It's very simple, because that's what keeps us in the material world. We think we are the center of it. And then everything should accommodate to our own mental whims. It's just going to bring us suffering. No, we should understand, we should revolve around Krishna. Krishna is the only Purusha, everybody else revolves around him. So as soon as we start acting as such, then we become blissful in devotional service. Then that's real devotional service. But as soon as we try to accommodate everybody else according to whatever we want, good luck. How is that going to work? Yes, what else?
To know what Krishna likes and dislikes, one should read the Shastras and follow the discipline succession.
Okay, yes, we should know what Krishna likes, what Krishna doesn't like. Well, Krishna likes everything as long as it's not selfish. It's pretty easy to understand like this. As soon as one is selfless, then Krishna will do anything for that person. Will do anything for that, because that's what attracts Krishna, because that's what that is bhakti. That is bhakti. So when one sacrifices for others, this is devotional process, this is spiritual process. But as soon as one just starts thinking about oneself, that's not devotion. That's why we are here in the material world. And then we clash with so many others who think in the same way. Always the problem. Yes, what was it?
We cannot cheat Krishna.
We cannot cheat Krishna. That was last Wednesday or before?
I think that's
Maybe we mentioned, but I think we discussed it earlier. Yeah, we discussed it earlier, sometimes back.
And the gopis are training that 64 arts.
Yeah, the gopis are expert in everything. They're expert in everything. It's very interesting. It's not just there are 64 arts. There are several of 64 arts. There's also no end of arts. If you read Puranas, you will find that certain arts are mentioned under the one category of 64, and then you'll read somewhere else that certain other arts mentioned in another category of 64. So gopis are expert in everything. For pleasure of Krishna, they become expert. Okay. So that's also another thing. We should qualify for something. We should qualify. Like so Prabhupada said, devotee is daksha. Daksha means expert. Devotee should be daksha. So he should know something of everything and everything of something. Something like that. So we should become expert. And one will become expert. That's called siddha. Like siddha. Like it is said, if you chant in the morning, you'll achieve perfection in chanting. During Brahma Muhurta, whatever you do, you'll achieve siddhi. And we see, devotees who are engaged, let's say somebody is teaching, they become expert in teaching after some time. Somebody is doing book distribution. They can distribute books to anybody. Krishna just gives that ability in the course of time. When one performs certain devotion service, somebody is doing puja or somebody is doing yaga, they can just do it. As the expression goes, with the closed eyes. It's so good. They can do anything. Just become an expert. It's natural actually. Even materially one becomes expert by doing something. Over the period of time and being focused and dedicated to whatever, one just becomes expert. So that by that effort, by that endeavor, one achieves certain qualification, one achieves certain ability and power also to perform such activities. But of course, we're interested in spiritual ones which are eternal. That's not lost. You see, sometimes devotees stray away or something, but that ability still remains. That's very interesting, spiritual ability. Okay, anything else last time? Any other points? No? Okay. So, okay, I'll just read what we discussed. Krishna was expressing to the gopis. We are reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adbhuta, chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance. So Krishna was saying, devotional service rendered to me by the living beings revives their eternal life. So only by bhakti one can revive its original position. And he says, my dear damsels of Raja, your affection for me is your good fortune. So that's what we discussed also. The best thing is to direct our affection towards Krishna. That will never disappoint us, that will never let us down. And then he concludes, for it is the only means by which you have obtained my favor. And that's what binds Krishna. That's how if we want to be blessed and gain anything for Krishna, well, then we should do devotional service. And then Krishna feels so obliged, he's so happy. Because he doesn't need anything. What is it that we can offer? There's nothing we can offer. What do we have? Nothing. But he's just so obliged, so happy. And Prabhupada gives example, a small child, he gets its allowance from the parents, whichever parent, it doesn't matter. And then when there's a parent's birthday, it doesn't buy chocolate or some nonsense, whatever, it doesn't go to PVR or this and that. And then for the birthday he saves some money and he buys something, some whatever foolish thing might be. Something, but he buys something with the idea of that he's hoping that will be pleasing to any of the parents or whatever. And he gives them as a gift. And although it might be something absolutely useless from the practical point of view, but the parents will be so happy because there's that exchange within the relationship. That the child has given something, has offered something. So Krishna also, what can we offer to Krishna? There's nothing we can offer to Krishna that he doesn't have, or what do we speak in terms of quality or quantity, whatever. But he's just so happy that we are making that endeavor. He's so pleased. And then how much more than he reciprocates? Then he will increase our allowance. Anyway. So Krishna is pointing out that this is what pleases him very much and by which one obtains his favor by the devotional service. So now we have several verses here, because there's one purport following. So here it says, Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. My friends climb on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, what kind of big man are you? You and I are equal. And then there's another one which has a purport. He said, if my beloved consort reproaches me in a sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of the Vedas. So there's a lot to be discussed here. Let's see how much, just maybe briefly. First he talks about this Vatsalya Bhav. It means motherly love, parental affection. So he says that, and that's what Krishna, he finds affection. Of course, he's the source. Whatever relationships we see here in this material world, they're all reflected relationships that exist already in the spiritual world. And it's perfection. So there's nothing that we don't find in the spiritual world that we find here. The material world is not better than the spiritual world, it's just the other way around. So that motherly affection, Krishna also wants to taste, he wants to relish, he wants to experience. So therefore, and another, of course, the greater reason why he does that, he desires that is fine, but many other living beings have that desire in relationship to Krishna. If we go to Gujarat, what is the most prominent bhav there? Anybody knows? Anybody visited any temples or something? What is the mood in relationship towards Krishna? Anybody? Yes?
As a king.
As a king. Okay.
Son.
Yes, but no. Huh?
Mother's feet.
Yes,
Like son.
yes, it's parental. Krishna is treated like a son. Like what is most worshipful indeed? It's Srinaji. Srinaji, small boy, or it's Ladu Gopal.
Yeah.
Well, that's mostly how Krishna is worshipped. That's parental affection. That's mostly how it is. Shri Krishna Sharana Mama. That's like it's mostly in that mood. It's in parental bond. So some living beings have that relationship, and they want to experience that relationship. So therefore, Krishna, to reciprocate, appears as a small boy. So then they can have that relationship, parental relationship, of nourishing, protecting, guiding, correcting even. There's so many pastimes. I mean, we won't talk about reading Srimad Bhagavatam, so many scriptures, of course, given by the Goswamis. They reveal what are the depths of those kind of leelas and pastimes that Krishna performs in relationship to his parents. And also to the elderly gopas and gopis. They all have the same feeling. They all have the same feeling. They also experience that Vatsalya Bhava. So Krishna is just reciprocating with all of them. They're cooking for him, they're serving him, they are worrying about him, they're protecting him. It's just saying Vatsalya Bhava. So whoever is that then Bhava, and then Krishna will make some arrangement that one will relate to him in such a mood that he's like a small child that needs particular type of protection and nourishment. So he said, Mother sometimes binds me as her son. She nourishes and protects me, thinking me utterly helpless. Because if she wouldn't be thinking him, so that's the difference between, of course, there is also Vatsalya Bhav, that is Bhav of Dvarka. That's a little bit different than the one in Vrindavan. Because in Dvarka and Mathura, there is Devaki and Vasudev. But they know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. So that somehow creates some kind of distance between them. They also feel that affection, but because there was description how that was very okay, let's discuss, let's see how far we go and what we will say. When Krishna came to Kurukshetra, after 100 years that he spent in Dwarka, and he hasn't been to Vrindavan, so then all the gopis were, everybody, all the residents of Vrindavan, they heard Krishna is coming back to, Krishna is coming here, at least to Kurukshetra, which is relatively close from Vrindavan. It's closer, way closer than the Dwarka is. So at the pretext of becoming purified at the holy place because of solar eclipse and so forth. So then all of them came, and of course, most of the Dvarkavasis also, they came there. And Krishna arrived. And then the first thing was, gopis, of course, they saw Krishna, but I won't talk about gopis now, because here is this motherly affection. So then there was Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba. So then Krishna reciprocated with them first. And then, of course, was Devaki, there was Vasudev, they came from Dwarka. And then when they saw their bhav, their love, their affection, they were just absolutely stunned. They couldn't believe that this is, because Krishna was, there was 100 years old or something. Of course, he wasn't 100 years old like in Vishnu things like in our, what perception we have. He was always 16. Was always looking like a 16-year-old boy, but according to Dvapara Yuga calculations, he was 100 years old. And then immediately, Mother Yashoda embraced him, put him on his lap. I mean, old grown-up man. Krishna is already grandfather also practically. But Mother Yashoda had such an affection towards him, just immediately embraced him, put him on the lap, started kissing him, showed so many symptoms, so many things happened. Anyway, we won't go into details. But Devaki couldn't believe, Devaki couldn't do that. She couldn't do that. She thought, she was thinking that I'm actually his mother. That's how Devaki thinks. And then how come Yashoda has so much more motherly affection than, she was just completely bewildered. And then Krishna was reciprocating in such a way, and then she was so confused. Because her mood, her affection, her relationship is tinged with that mood of awe and reverence. It is Vatsalya, but it has a lot of awe and reverence. That's why Dwarka is a little bit different. Mood of Dwarka is a little bit different than the mood of Raja. Raja, it's much more intimate. So that when she was, and then of course Yashoda understood that, and then they had some discussion, and then she pacified Devaki, and then Krishna also intervened, and then he also became more, personal towards Devaki and so forth. But still, there was not, that intimacy was not there. That intimacy was not there. Not as much as Krishna had towards Yashoda. And it's not that Yashoda is not the real mother of Krishna, because Krishna appeared simultaneously in Mathura and in Vrindavan. In two forms, simultaneously. And then the Vrindavan Krishna was taken to Mathura and then merged in that Vasudeva Krishna. Actually, the other way around. So Mathura Krishna was taken to Vrindavan and merged with Vrindavan Krishna. So, anyway, so there are many of such kind of deep perfections and dealings described in this Vatsalya Bhava. But the mood is again both in terms of Devaki and even Yashoda, that Krishna is a helpless child, and we should protect him, we should guide him, we should teach him, we should nourish him, correct him. That's a parental mood, because they will never accept that Krishna is, self-sufficient, that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although, as I said, Devaki understands this, but still sometimes that is also somewhat covered because of those motherly feelings towards Krishna. But if they wouldn't be there, then there wouldn't be any rasa. Like when Yashoda looks in Krishna's mouth and she sees all the universe, and then she thinks, maybe I have a little fever or something. Something's wrong with me. It's like she immediately corrects herself because it interferes her bhav. It interferes her love. So she doesn't like it. And then Krishna understanding this immediately dismisses everything. And just starts acting like an ordinary child. Or when Krishna kills some demon or something, and they can't understand how is it possible? How can Krishna do this? No, it's not Krishna, somebody else. Or when Krishna was in front of them straight, he was lifting Govardhan hill. Then they thought, no, it's not Krishna, all the gopas, everybody will hold their sticks, everybody was helping. And how can Krishna do this? There's so many different little ways. And then once they had a meeting, all the residents of Vrindavan said, see Nanda Baba, what you do, you always chastise and correcting Krishna, but you should know Krishna is not an ordinary person. You should a little bit behave yourself, should be more careful, because you might be committing offenses. Krishna is not an ordinary child, he must be some demigod. And everybody, Nanda Baba has, there are 5 brothers. The eldest one is Upananda. Actually, Nanda is the youngest, but still he was so expert, and so he was kind of crowned as a king of Raja to take care of everyone. He was very competent. And then everybody was telling him, you shouldn't chastise Krishna so much. You should be very careful how to behave towards him. He's not an ordinary person, ordinary child. And then Nanda Baba started thinking, he's not an ordinary child. He cannot. He's hungry. He cannot control his hunger. Immediately he has to eat something and he's crying for makan, for this and that. He's not ordinary. Then when it's thundering, immediately runs into my bed, looking for the shelter. And then so many things Nanda Baba is remembering. Then how is Krishna not an ordinary? Then when he doesn't get what he wants in some other houses, when he goes and steals that butter, then he's passing urine everywhere, he's just making all such a big mess. How is Krishna not an ordinary? and they all hear all these different kinds of pastimes, and they start laughing and completely forget. And say, oh, Krishna is just a small, ordinary boy. Anyway, so many pastimes like this. So Krishna, sometimes they get glimpse of Krishna's majesty. But Krishna doesn't allow that to interfere in their rasa. Rasa is more important than the Tattva. And in that mood, then Tattva is absolutely unimportant. It doesn't matter. Krishna doesn't want to be Supreme Personality of God. He wants to be just like an ordinary human being. That's why everybody becomes confused, not understanding what's Krishna's position. Krishna doesn't care about it. The only thing that he cares is that rasa that he has with his devotees. That exchange that he has with his devotees. That's more important to him. And that's what devotees are relishing. If we could just imagine, in any rasa or in every rasa, you just have somebody, to deal with somebody who is absolutely perfect and absolutely, caring and absolutely dedicated and absolutely, most wonderful in every sense, you'll completely forget everything else. And nothing else will matter. So that's what Krishna does. So that's what bhakti is. So that's what we're trying to aim at. That's what we're trying to achieve. And whichever rasa we might be, whatever it's our swarupa it might be, and hopefully will be revealed, we remain serious and practice our bhakti. Then we will see, and maybe hopefully experience how Krishna then reciprocates. And then nothing else will matter. Completely forget his material existence. So anyway, so that's motherly love, Vatsalya. And then he talks about the friends. He said that's Sakya. My friends climbed on my shoulders in pure friendship, saying, "What kind of big man are you? You and I are equal." And actually sometimes Krishna allows them to defeat him. He becomes defeated and he has to carry them around. That's a punishment. And so many things, they play around in so many different ways. They climb on Krishna, they sometimes even meet Krishna, they punish him in some ways. Sometimes they trick Krishna. They tell him, "We'll give you a nice sandesh, open your mouth, close your eyes," and then they put flour inside his mouth. And there's so many funny things. There's some descriptions what the coward boys do to each other. Some are quite interesting. Anyway, so they keep on sporting like this. They have all kinds of pastimes going on. So Krishna allows himself. He subordinates himself because of love of these devotees that they have towards him also. Because he has full trust and confidence in them. There's no exploitation, there is no selfish motives, that they're all fully centered, that they're ready to do anything absolutely for Krishna. And that's why Krishna is having so much trust also toward them. And that's why he's placing himself fully under their control. So that's also their Sakya Rasa. Okay, and then now in this verse today, then he talks about gopis also. He said, "If my beloved consort reproaches me in sulky mood, that steals my mind from the reverent hymns of Vedas." So that's what Krishna even appreciates more. There's a purpose to the literature of Prabhupada. But he won't approve it. So Krishna is not so much impressed by someone chanting the Vedas, but he's more impressed with that devotion, even being chastised by someone within that devotion. So Srila Prabhupada points out in the purport, he says, according to the Upanishads, all living entities are dependent on the Supreme Living Entity, the personality of Godhead. As it is said in Kathopanishad, Nityo Nityana, Chaitanas Chaitanana, Eko Bahunam, Yo Vidadati Kamana. One eternal living entity supports all the other eternal living entities. Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead maintains all the other living entities, they remain subordinate to the Lord, even when joined with Him in the reciprocation of loving affairs. So absolutely, of course, under any circumstance or position, we are always subordinate to Krishna. So then how can Krishna become subordinate to us? Again, that is the point of bhakti. That is amazing. That is nowhere else that Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes subordinate to someone. It's just conception that nobody else has except in practically Bhagavad or something like that. How come Krishna can become subordinate to supreme absolute truth, the most greatest, the most powerful, the most anything, and that he becomes subordinate? And that's a very common and example that Srila Prabhupada gives. There is one example, anybody knows? He gives the example of some very great person who out of that affection for someone, he was acting in an apparently not appropriate way that we would kind of expect, but because of love towards someone, he assumed that also subordinate position. What is the example of Prabhupada? It's a very common example. Very often we would hear that. Anybody else knows? No? Okay, Deepak.
Bharat Maharaj.
Huh?
Bharat Maharaj.
Bharat Maharaj. Really? What is Bharat Maharaj? No, that's not it. Huh?
Judge.
Yeah, it's not judge. It was not judge. There was one, can't remember now. Maybe it will come. It was around just before Second World War. He was the Prime Minister of Britain. Oh, what was his name? Huh? No.
Winston Churchill.
No, it was during before him. Anyway, whatever. There was one. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Huh?
Prabhupada is an example of son and father.
Anyway, we're discussing this one now. Wait a second. I'm trying to remember the name of this fellow. It doesn't matter. Okay, so what had happened, he was as a prime minister, of course, he was very busy. And then somebody came to meet him, and he was made to wait, of course. And a lot of time has been passing. And then that person already became somewhat impatient. And then he kind of came close to the door, because he was made to be wait just outside. And then he kind of a little bit, the door was somewhat a little bit open. And he peeked in, and what he saw that same prime minister with his grandson. They were playing horsey kind of. His grandson was sitting on his back, and he was walking on forth around, and then his grandson was kind of doing all kinds of things, making him walk around like that. So Srila Prabhupada gives this as an example. Somebody, and that prime minister was known to be very heavy. I'll try to remember his name, but he was very, very, very strong on whatever points he was very strong with his opponents and so forth. So he had very strong nature like this. But you see that with his grandson, there's something that nobody would expect from him. So in the same way, Krishna, he might be the greatest, this or that, but whatever, but in certain rasa, in certain relationship, it just becomes absolutely subordinate, absolutely surrendered. It's a whole different rasa, it's a whole different exchange that goes on. So that's the position of Krishna. But then, that's what we're discussing, why he does it. Because of love. Because of love. He won't do that with anybody else. But he does with those who have love and full trust in him. Otherwise, yes, by any general nature, we're always subordinate to Krishna. But if we have so much love, then Krishna becomes subordinate to us. So Srila Prabhupada continues, he said, but in the course of exchanging transcendental love of the highest purity, sometimes the subordinate devotee tries to predominate over the predominator. So that's interesting now. Sometimes the devotee tries to overpower Krishna, but he does it out of love. Like you see, okay, queens of Dwarka, Satyabhama, sometimes she becomes so angry, and she's chastising Krishna, rebuking Krishna, and Krishna is relishing it, because it's out of love. So Krishna relishes that rasa also. So the devotee becomes, predominator. One who lovingly engages with the Supreme Lord as if he were his mother or father sometimes supersedes the position of the Supreme Personality of God. So how can someone who is the, who is the, you may say basically product of Krishna, becomes superior to Krishna? How to understand that? That's something that's not easy to grasp. So, they're not real Krishna's mother and father, so to say, because Krishna is not manifested from them. But he agrees to play that role because of their affection. And then they think that they are source of Krishna. Similarly, his fiancée or lover sometimes supersedes the position of the Lord, but such attempts are exhibitions of the highest love. Only out of pure love does the subordinate lover of the Supreme Personality of Godhead chide him. The Lord, enjoying his chiding takes it very nicely. What does that mean, chide? I never heard that word. Anybody knows? Can somebody check? C-H I-D-E. What's that mean? Huh?
Scold.
Scolding? Okay. So the exhibition of natural love makes such activities very enjoyable. In worship of the Supreme Lord with veneration, there is no manifestation of sudden natural love because the devotee considers the Lord his superior. Okay, one second, I'll read this again, just to make you a little bit focus again. Don't miss this out. This is, I know that's why this is Chaitanya, it's all very deep philosophy. So you have to somewhere or other focus a little more than usual. In worship of the Supreme Lord, with veneration, so that means with awe and reverence, with like worship of Lord Narayan, there is no manifestation of such natural love. So on the levels of different lower rasas like this Shanta rasa and even Dasya rasa, there is no such manifestation. Krishna is not subordinate. It doesn't become subordinate. I mean, that's also understood because somebody who is in that mood, that kind of devotee, what would happen to him? He become bewildered completely. How would somebody, you always, Krishna is always your, I mean, if you read some different shastras, you understand what's going on in Vaikuntha and so forth. Those devotees are fixed. Krishna is the supreme, he is the most worshipable, we always, bow down to him, we always worship him, he is perfect, he is just unfailable. And then suddenly Krishna starts acting like that, then they will just be completely lost. They wouldn't be able to understand it. It was just such a confusion. They're completely lost. That's why Krishna never does that, because it would affect their devotion. It would be very harmful to their devotion. So that's why Krishna doesn't read, and they don't know how to react. They don't know how to take it. That's why Krishna never does it. And they never expect it. They never wanted to have it. They don't expect now suddenly Krishna comes and, oh, you're worshipping me so nicely, he asks you and something, let's go. And so they were like, we're shocked. No. It's amazing how these different moods and rasas and relationships are. Sometimes they're not matching. And there are certain fixed expectations. This is what you expect from someone. You don't expect them to act in a different way. Otherwise, it just becomes pure confusion. So because in that kind of mood, devotee considers the Lord his superior. So the Lord is always superior. Regulated principles in devotional service are meant for those who have not invoked their natural love of Godhead. When natural love arises, all the regulated methods are surpassed, and pure love is exhibited between the Lord and the devotee. So now this is discussion about Vaidhi sadhana and Raganuga sadhana. Vaidhi means we follow certain principles, certain rules, and those are important to purify us, but they will not give us love of Krishna. They in itself will not give us love of Krishna. They will purify us, but they won't give us love to achieve that particular love. And specifically this very intimate one where Krishna even becomes subordinate, then one has to exhibit much more surrender than just following some rules and regulations. Anyway, that's a big discussion.
Piety will not help us get his love, you're saying? Or just piety?
No, just piety we won't get such a love for Krishna.
Okay, but devotion, bhakti and piety...
They will purify. Why they will purify us? But it will not give us that affection. It will not give us that surrender. That we have to follow in the footsteps of those who have that. That we have to learn from them. That's why we were talking about training last time. You have to become trained, you have to know how to please Krishna. Then you keep on developing more and more affection, more and more devotion, more and more surrender.
So if suppose there are a lot of people who are doing pious activities, and they are not devoted. So probably in few births or few lifetimes, he will also become devotee.
So it's not mechanical. It's not mechanical. It's not by after this much time, after this much effort, after so many pujas, after so many japas. Doesn't depend on that. It's about the mood, and that mood you can only get from someone who has that mood. So it's not a mechanical process. It's a matter of heart.
So others who are doing pious activities,
They will not reach this. Piety can never bind Krishna as bhakti. Piety will get you as results of piety. You can go to heavenly planets, whatever, but you won't go, pretty much even you won't go even to Vaikuntha.
so probably Krishna will select them because they are pure souls.
They're endeavoring, Krishna will give them some mercy, make some arrangement. If they're sincere in their devotion, unless, if they really want Krishna. If they want just some material benefits by performing piety, then Krishna will not give himself. That's why it said Krishna can easily give, okay, you come to temple, please Krishna give me this, give me. He will easily give these things. But if you ask him for bhakti, that's not going to be easy. Then you really have to qualify. Because by bhakti you can purchase him, you can control him. So that's not going to be easy to get. So one really has to qualify. One really has to become sincere. One really has to renounce everything else and just really want only Krishna. Nothing else. Okay, let's do it a little faster just to finish the script. So, all on such a platform of love, the devotee sometimes appears to predominate over the Lord or transgress regulative principles. Such dealings are far more advanced than ordinary dealings through regulative principles with awe and veneration. So Srila Prabhupada is pointing that sometimes there are certain principles Krishna just doesn't care. If somebody acts towards them, like we discussed earlier, Krishna doesn't care. Like we said, that lady cooking khichdi with the datum and whatever, the mixing, and Krishna doesn't care if it's he's tasting the love, he's tasting the affection that somebody has towards him. And even like this verse says, somebody is chastising him. How Krishna? How can you? But they can't not to think about Krishna. Krishna is just relishing that bhav. And they may just transgress all the other etiquettes and rules and regulations. That's more attractive to Krishna than if somebody is just pakana, we have to do like this, we have to do like this, and it's like, okay. A devotee who is actually free from all designations due to complete attachment in love for the Supreme exhibits spontaneous love for Godhead, which is always superior to devotion of regulative principles. So Raganam is always higher than Vaidhi. Spontaneous devotion. But of course, to come to that, one has to practice Vaidhi. One has to become purified. The informal language used between lover and beloved is indicative of pure affection. When devotees worship their beloved as the most venerable object, spontaneous loving sentiments are observed to be lacking. So neophyte devotee who follows the Vedic instructions that regulate those who lack pure love of Godhead may superficially seem more exalted than devotees in spontaneous love of Godhead. But in fact, such spontaneous love is far superior to regulated devotional service. Such pure love of Godhead is always glorious in all respects, more so than the reverential devotional service rendered by less affectionate devotee. So that's, I know this is a little bit, especially for those who are not hearing so much from the Shastra. What are we talking here about? It's not easy to understand. But somebody who follows just strict rules and principles, Krishna is not so attracted to that. Rather, he's attracted to those who are really spontaneously loving him. But of course, you can't spontaneously love him unless you understand him, unless you also become purified. So that's why one leads towards the other. So we cannot jump over. We cannot just, okay, now we spontaneously love Krishna and we do all kinds of nonsense, and we just jump on the altar and whatever. No, we can't do that. It's an offense. So we have to learn how to follow first, and then spontaneous means we will just spontaneously desire to worship and exhibit devotion towards Krishna, rather than being forced to do it. We will just want to do it ourselves. That's more spontaneous. And that's what attracts Krishna more. That's why, like one of the other examples is Vidura. When Duryodhana offered Krishna enormous feast when Krishna came to Hastinapur. And Krishna was not interested. He didn't go to Duryodhana's palace. But then Vidura came, and then Vidura was in such ecstasy, he just couldn't. And then, I did the example with banana, Kela. And he was giving him peel, and he threw banana, and then Krishna was relishing because it was given with love. So that's what Krishna is relishing. It's not the substance, but it's the essence. So that's a spontaneous devotional love. So that's what Krishna wants. So he's not concerned whether how is the procedures, this and that. No, but is it devotion? Of course, if one does all of those with devotion, yes, that also Krishna will take. So devotion is the main ingredient. The most important ingredient. In any offering, in any dealing, in any exchange, in any relationship. Okay, Hare Krishna. Any comments on these questions on this? Is this understood? I know it's a subject, it's not so, of course you have to practice for a while and how to spontaneously approach Krishna and relate to Krishna. And how come he likes that more than following something. Because that might be also dangerous. Then we'll say, okay, we won't follow, we'll just be spontaneous. But then we'll be spontaneously completely in tamas and in ignorance. That's another danger. So we have to learn first how to follow. And be expert in that. And then we can come to the platform of just naturally feeling and relate to Krishna. Yes?
When a devotee is stuck in the cycle of rules and regulations, his nature also becomes, very strict, very straightforward. So then how can he come out of it at a later point of time?
Again, the point is whether one has to come out of it or not. That's another consideration. Because as we said, those who follow strict rules and regulations, some people are by nature very attracted to rules and regulations. Very, very strict. And that's, those devotees, they go to Vaikuntha. They just live by those principles. So it's not necessary they have to come out of it. There's nothing wrong with that. But if somebody wants to even transgress rules and regulations for the pleasure of Krishna, then that's a different realm for them. And that's what Krishna relishes the most. So it depends on our, again, bhav that one has, but it's one can realize then one's swarupa, one original position. By that mood he develops once he purifies himself from all the anarthas. That will be revealed. But so far, even then those devotees who are perfected, they also still follow rules and regulations. Because they, as a senior or whatever, they have to set example for others. They cannot, behave in their natural state because many others will misunderstood. And then follow their example without being qualified. So then that also creates a trouble in society. So it will be revealed. Okay. Anything else? Okay. And we may discuss maybe afterwards. So we'll stop here. So Prabhupada ki jai, ki jai. Okay, so all of you are today very fortunate. We have some special Mantra. It's here? Okay. So